Good morning, biologists. One more thing that I've been wanting to talk to you about plants and animals is that plants and animals change their environment, and usually they do that to help them survive. So, when I've been going out on walks, I've been looking for different ways that I've seen plants and animals changing their environment. And as I was looking up in a tree, I noticed that a bird built a nest up there. The bird changed the tree environment by putting that nest there, right? The tree's not the same anymore, and the bird did that for survival. They needed a place to have their family. I noticed, actually, I was so glad I was paying attention because I was walking on the sidewalk, and instead of being like a smooth, flat sidewalk, there was a part where it kind of stuck up a little bit. And I realized why that had happened. Underneath, there was a big tree root growing, and that tree needed its roots to grow to survive. It changed the environment by making the sidewalk buckle. And then I noticed one more thing. I was out for a walk, and there was like a lot of tall grass, and I saw that there was kind of like a little path made through the grass. But it wasn't like a trail a human had made. It was just a really skinny little area where the grass had been moved aside. And I realized that was probably from where animals had been walking through. So after I read you this story today, my challenge for all you biologists is to go out on an observation walk and see if you can notice where plants and animals have changed their environment to survive. It's another Eric Carle book, and it's called A House for Hermit Crab. Time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this little shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean. But it was frightening out in the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me, he thought. I must find a new house soon. So hermit crabs are unique because they find other shells to hide in. This hermit crab had outgrown his shell, so he's off to look for a new one, and already he's changing his environment by leaving that shell behind. Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and waggling about inside to see how it felt. It felt just right. But it looks so plain, thought Hermit Crab. Now he's changing his environment again by taking a hold of this shell. And I'll take it with him wherever he goes. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. How beautiful you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It is so plain it needs you. I'll come, whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his shell. They look like flowers, but they're actually animals. Look at his house now. In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock of starfish moving slowly along the seafloor. How handsome you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I would, signaled the little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. In May, Hermit Crab discovered some coral. Coral is another thing that looks like a plant but is an animal. They were hard and didn't move. How pretty you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to make my house more beautiful? I would, creaked a crusty coral. Gingerly, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In June, Hermit Crab came to a group of snails crawling over a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. "How tidy and hard-working you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to come and help clean my house?" "I would," offered one of the snails. Happily, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In July, Hermit Crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. "How fierce you look," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to protect my house?" "I would," said a spiky sea urchin. Gratefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. He's really changing his environment, right? He's getting the animals to come live there instead of where they were. In August, Hermit Crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. Looks like kelp. "It is so dark here," thought Hermit Crab. "How dim it is," murmured the sea anemone. "How gloomy it is," whispered the starfish. "How murky it is," complained the coral. "I can't see," said the snail. "It's like nighttime," cried the sea urchin. In September, Hermit Crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. "How bright you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would one of you be willing to light up our house?" "I would," replied one lanternfish. And it swam over near the shell. Remember, these are like those fish we saw in the deep ocean that make their own light. In October, Hermit Crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. "How sturdy you are," said Hermit Crab. "Would you mind if I rearranged you?" "Not at all," answered the pebbles. Hermit Crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell. "Now my house is perfect," cheered Hermit Crab. But in November, Hermit Crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little, over the year, Hermit Crab had grown. Soon he would have to find another, bigger home. But he had come to love his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. "They have been so good to me," thought Hermit Crab. "They are like a family. How can I ever leave them?" In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. "I have outgrown my shell," she said. "Would you know of a place for me?" "I have outgrown my house too," answered Hermit Crab. "I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends." "I promise," said the little crab. The following January, Hermit Crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. "Couldn't stay in that little shell forever," said Hermit Crab as he waved goodbye. The ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered, but Hermit Crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell. It looked, well, a little plain, but sponges, he thought, barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there are so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. So what I'd like you to do for Writer's Workshop today is tell me, what will Hermit Crab decorate his new shell with? It could be some things that he mentioned, like clownfish or barnacles, or you could do things like stickers, gems. Use your imagination, but let's try to do at least 2 sentences, and you can draw a little picture with it. I will also attach a link for you to watch a real hermit crab changing its shell, okay? All right, have fun.